Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame at Red Dragon. We're on Punchbowl again, same teams here for our side anyway. Me and Han DeHun, both second lieutenants. I'm playing as Israel this time, and we're playing against the Major Viet Cong and his ally M1127RV. Now, I don't know if these guys knew each other, but they both joined at the same time, so I highly suspect they did. And we've actually switched sides, so Han is going toward Charlie and the far side of Bravo this time around instead of how we were last time. You want to say hello and sort of explain your opener just a bit?
Hello, hello. Glad to be here. This was a really great game, so I'm happy we can talk through it. Basically, I'm pushing through Charlie, right, just helping to secure the far side of Bravo so we can use that as a springboard, and then seeing what we can get done on the two-pointer side itself.
And I think we were hoping to do sort of the same thing we did last time with the later game split, where you no longer have to deal with that. I'll deal with the town fight in Bravo entirely, and then you can send everything into Charlie to make sure that we get that point. It's just, it helps to sort of have a bit more points than your opponent here at the very beginning. And you can see that in action as the Moglong gets a couple of kills, Shiatet and Bedouins combining to give recon, and the nice kill off of those Shiatet means just very high rate of fire infantry. And you have a Leclerc, I have double 3D Baz. It was a pretty big investment, but you still had the time to get a Tiger, to get Gazelle Celtic, some stuff on the ground as well. I think it was just a really nice split of units, and I actually had even less over in Fox than you did last game, so we'll see how that works out. But
old strategy con, to be sure. Yeah, with the Tiger, I just wanted to, especially in a 2v2, I feel like you can get away with it. I wanted to figure out what they were committing to Charlie to know, to get a little bit better sense of how far can I send my stuff into that point.
Yeah, and we definitely, so this was sort of an interesting thing. Both of these games, we've had our opponents go more into Echo Fox than we expected, and right here I just want to highlight T-72BUs. These guys are very expensive, 175 points apiece, engaged by the Leclerc and getting a couple of nice shots there, only missing that side shot by like a half second at most, following it up. I mean, this was a really nice sort of opener on those BUs, and my Bazes are right there, unfortunately just missing the shots, but I mean, one Leclerc versus double BU was doing way better than I ever suspected it would, so that was very, very nice work.
This was nice by Viet Cong, because obviously we have a lot more points in armor engaging those BUs, and so he was able to pull back before they got taken out.
Now, this annoyed me.
But it was just one of those things where we had 3 different angles of shots on him, so we were able to win that fight pretty nicely.
This really annoyed me. He actually split his BUs, but the Kurnos got 1 missile away, so it's, where is it? Let's see. Yep, it's right there in the air. Let's see. Yep, right there. And that single missile is going to get us 1 kill on the BUs. If I had both, we very well could have killed both BUs with that Kurnos, so I was just in there, oh, I was fuming mad. But if you look at board position here, I mean, we're very, very secure in Bravo. The Shiatet 13, the Rovai, the Magellan, Ramreki, and then on your side, Legion 90, Panzergren 90, AMX 13. I'm going to be bringing up some ATGM teams and more bodies here, and that really frees you up to just go right into Charlie. So I think 10 RCs, is that sort of to reinforce on the right-hand side of Charlie, or are you just trying to go through and see if you can get a couple of cheeky kills with that very, very fast unit?
Actually, what I wanted to do, since there was so little contest in Charlie, is to set up on the entrance points, so that we can put those RCs and have them to either be ready to springboard out towards Alpha, or to catch anything that's trying to reinforce on the far side of Bravo.
So like here kind of thing, right at the exits?
Yep.
That seems
I found
a little
that
risky just because I was... I tend to push those with infantry, like shocks or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are really key entrance points, right? And so either having infantry or recon there to be able to figure out what's coming your way is going to be critical.
This was very nice. Look at that. VDV 90 getting shot by Leclerc's, by 2 units of Panzergren, just zoning those guys out, allowing my Rovai to get up and into that reinforcement zone, and so many Spetsnaz. This was actually really terrifying. Spetsnaz are beautiful town fighters. Of course, elite training, they have the RPD Reese, and Skretchets to back him up will do a lot of damage. You can see what they're doing right now to my Rovai 90. A little too far ahead, a bit farther than they should be. And, I mean, let's just take a peek here real quick at M1127RV. Look at this huge investment, right? Like, there's no way I wanted to engage that at all, but we have an ITO 90, a ROM, 2 Charioteers, which are pretty cheap, Pave, KRKK, I mean, there's a lot of points here. And then on our side, there's, like, I don't know,
maybe 100 points of units.
Yeah, I mean, these are Shiatet 13 just because I wanted something that could hold its own in the woods. We did, of course, spot the Pave. And at this point, I just said, you know what? That's fine. Let's just send more stuff over here. And you had a really nice early cap, too, so getting the Panther with CV infantry to Charlie. We've been taking +1 for a little while now, 53 points to 5. but you cannot take that for granted. Kurnos coming in, by the way, trying to go after the pave, and I think I missed him here. So let's see. No, we hit, just not a direct hit, so that's not going to do a lot of damage. Missed opportunity, 2 top armor. If those bombs had been spread just a little different, that could have gotten a kill. But the Kurnos got out, and by the way, secret weakness of Spetsnaz is 5-point boxes, particularly the Israeli ones with 3 guns. So they can't pen the armor on it, and they'll just die, is really kind of hilarious.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anytime you see Spetsnaz that are unsupported by any type of AT, you just take anything with more than 1 armor and just send them at them. We'll have a good time.
Yeah, I think they did actually get out. You can see they're retreating through. But, I mean, I was hoping to catch them here with a 5-second cooldown time, but just not able to do it. And they do get out of that. But I think we get a bit of a cheeky kill here. So the I Sherman, this of course, best tank in the game, 15 points, kills the Spetsnaz. And they have to come back up. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of.
I hope you go put him in a retirement home and don't send him off to a crazy adventure.
Crazy adventures are best adventures, clearly. So the Bazes are coming up. I'm trying to get the Lahats onto the T-72BU here. Let's see. First shot in. No luck. Second shot is a hit. I think, was that 1 point of damage? Yeah.
I believe it. It's what, 22 armor?
22 AP, 22 armor. Yeah, that's a point of damage. Yeah. And unfortunately I left myself open to a 27M, so not the best smoke micro there. The 27M does also, I think, get out. Yeah, I mean, it's a 200-point plane, but it's a 180-point tank. It's actually pretty good in terms of getting the return on investment there. So, well, that
wasn't his first pass either.
It was not? What did he get the first time?
Yeah, the 27M's been out for at least 1 pass before.
Huh. Well, we have a BU here. It's down to 2 points of strength. I was really hoping to get just one last shot on him, one last Lahat missile if I could get it. Unfortunately, a bit distracted by the VDV-90, and I think... yeah, I mean, this looks like it's just getting bigger and scarier all the time. Legion 90 are really terrifying. I would have liked to see just a mild thing here. I would have liked to see some more militia, just to allow the Legion 90 to survive that much better. Is there a reason you didn't bring him in?
I mean, with the reinforcement distance to Charlie is something I always struggle with, and part of the reason why I wanted to play that side of the map, in the sense that I'm not sure when I can commit to sending in tracked vehicles. So you see a lot of what I have, there are 150-point road speed, right? So the Legion and the Vabs, Mistrals, Commando Paras that I could bring in with fast reinforced. So almost everything here I brought in to get units as quickly as possible on the field.
Gotcha, and that does make sense, particularly in the opener. Then as time goes on, the tracked vehicles will have a bit more time to get in. And this was sort of a bit of an inflection point, I think, in the game. We could have, if we had chosen, tried to push through Bravo here, but that BU is being healed up, much to my chagrin. The Shiatet will have trouble with Sapri in the open ground. And you can see M1127 is bringing in another Wilk, and as soon as I spotted that, I got just a bit scared, not that they'd go through to Golf, but that they'd try and pinch these woods. And if you can cut through these woods, I mean, I think it's just straight up a better idea than trying to attack Golf from this side of the board, because if they can get through these woods, it's very hard to push back into. They can completely cut off our reinforcement line into Bravo and force us to engage right here. And yeah, it's pretty close to our air spawn, it's pretty close to our reinforcing zone, but I don't know, it can be very, very much a bad thing.
Makes sense. I mean, remembering that this is effectively Plunging Valley rotated, that same crescent of woods is exactly what we want to fight over on the other version of this map.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely key terrain.
When you're looking at it this way and your spawn is right here and you can go through this side, it really does lock down Fox, and it's definitely true the other way around. And that's just really trippy. I guess if you haven't played that much on these maps, just so you know, this is the direction of Plunging Valley, and you rotate about 90 degrees, and it's Punchbowl, and they play so completely differently, it's terrifying. But let's take a look. You are having some combat go on now, and it looks like some Legion have been pushed out. ITO 90 also going up. It's going to mean that the Tiger's going to have a hard time eventually, and I just was trying out the Nimrod. Traditionally, I don't like this thing, but apparently the missile is one of the fastest in the game, really, really high acceleration and top speed, and then 28 AP power. I have no arguments with that, so I'm trying. I unfortunately got a little bit micro-stressed and just kind of left him hovering there.
Sure.
It's a beautiful looking
I mean,
helicopter.
an absolute terror on the field. I think for the price point that you get it at,
Yeah.
you definitely, better to leave it in the backline and safe.
Speaking
And the push
of-
in Charlie, where M1127 is pushing, he was doing a really good job of combined arms, right? Having the base Yakari engage and then having the BTRs or other units follow up.
Just
So
good
my
combined
Legion were really
arms.
getting pushed back and weren't handling the unsupported forest fight well.
Well, let's actually flip to his perspective just for a minute, just to see. So we have a Wilk, we have Yakri. Yeah, I mean, Yakri 90 have a fearsome reputation for a reason, despite being 10-point regular infantry. They're just some of the most value 10-point regulars, I think, in the entire game. And, yeah, I mean, not perfect, right? Like, the Iroquois Yakri getting killed here is going to hurt, and there's Yakri right behind it. But, I mean, please tell me you got... No! They got out!
They got out.
I'm so sad. Yeah, but
Yeah,
this
it
is...
was definitely a tough situation for me. I didn't like being pushed out, but at the end of the day, he had a lot more points on the field, partly due to a shorter reinforced path and
Right.
just really good combined arms from him. Right, the Yakri combined with the Hawks, combined with the fire support vehicles, it was a good push.
Yeah.
I learned a lot trying to hold it.
I mean, learning from defeat is the best way to get better at this game. So if you're ever going up against somebody and you just think, man, this is like fighting a brick wall that keeps scooching itself inch by inch a little bit closer, just look at what they're doing and try and do it back to them the next time. Try and do it to other people, because odds are their tactics, maybe their map knowledge, things like that, might just be a little bit better and able to give them the edge. Now this is another little bit of a highlight here. We have that BU backing himself up into the town. My Baz is over here, the I Shermans are getting shot, but look at that, 5 points of strength, Nimrod, side shot, down goes the BU, 170 point kill there, off of a really, really OP 80 point helicopter. I mean, that was super satisfying, and I'm definitely bringing this thing more often, because the other thing too about attack helicopters is often range is an issue. Because if you have 2800 meter range, you're going to get match range with anti-air pieces, and you're going to be outranged by some of the specialized ones, like for example against South Africa. But 2975 allows you to be much more flexible. Now on this side, you are getting pushed out here. Your command infantry held on as long as they could and didn't actually retreat out before engaging, and surprisingly are making it pretty far across the open ground. I guess, why not retreat them in good order? Was the hope just to get that many more conquest points on the board, or was it just a bit of a everything kind of collapsed quick?
Yeah, it was more of just they got collapsed pretty quick. They had an infantry squad defending the block next door, and so it's one of those things where you're much better than I am in terms of being able to recognize, oh, we're not going to win this fight in the next 5 minutes. Let's start pulling back key backline units.
I am in
So
fact
that was
used
an
to
oversight on
losing,
my
yes.
part.
Now Kurnos coming in, and I do lose it, but the Ito 90 kill, I mean, it's 90 points, it's deconstructing your opponent's AA net, and unfortunately they still had a bit in here, mostly Iroquois Yakuri. But if you can take apart those pieces, obviously trading for them with a Kurnos is not great, but keep in mind what your opponent is losing and try and exploit it. This, by the way, is beautiful. I'm so happy about this. I mean, in Spotsacopa, if only they'd been unloaded before, even reservists might have been able to get that with the LRAC 73, which, yeah, I mean, as it is, you force them to move. This gives us a little bit more time. We're rounding 350 points now with 27 minutes left in the game. It means we don't really need that much tick for that much longer, but this is sort of the scariest point in the game, I think, for us, is very much right now. So we've lost Charlie, we've gotten pushed out, there's not that much defending Delta, Fox and Echo have been lost. It's sort of what we said in yesterday's video as well, where if we hadn't been able to hold Charlie there, we had a very real risk of losing. So, right now we have Bravo, that's giving us a +1. If they cap Charlie, they get a +1. 26 minutes, +1, you win the game. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the type of deal where, they definitely have an opportunity here to not only cap Charlie and then to also push into our own 2-pointer. This is a bit of a greedy attempt here, since we had spotted their CV. I figured they might have moved it out
Did you get
to
it?
a different tree line, but no.
Oh,
He
man.
does reposition later on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard thing. I'm kind of curious where it is, though. Let's take a look. Yeah, almost.
Oh,
Good
I
instance.
missed by a tree line.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would have thought the same thing. Obviously, I mean, this is pretty much as far back as you can get to stay away from that border. I would have gone for the same spot. So, interesting that bringing up an MI-17. I almost wonder, does your one Commando's para shoot this down?
We do stun it, I believe. I didn't check the replay to see if it dies. I guess we'll find out together.
Yeah, yeah. Let's take a look. So 1 point damage. Frankly, the MI-17. Oh, okay. There's the stun. 2 points. I mean, this is just gonna be pretty slow with only the one Commando's para there, unfortunately. But, huh. Kind of curious they brought up 2 CVs. Maybe he thought he was gonna lose that one to cluster and impulse bot. I could believe that. But we are getting some Rovate 90 up there just to hold on that side. Of course, a Wilk on that side is a little bit scary, and they started pushing me really hard here. And I was just, I mean, my Shy Ted are getting killed, my Rovate are getting a little bit killed, we're getting a bit sort of exploited on this side, and the 3D Baz has to actually come up and engage way closer range than I ever want to against VDV. So, I mean, there's a healthy group here, there's a not healthy group right there. The mortars are trying to come in to get the stun, really, more than kills here on the VDV 90. But if they got through this forest, and, I mean, this was sort of like the brink of everything falling apart, which I love that. I mean, the games that you win that are sort of one-sided in either direction, it's just, it can be a little bit of a, yeah, whatever, okay, let's play the next one. But games like this are just so much fun to play because you look back at these moments and you think, if I did something even just a little bit different, that could have ended in disaster. And maybe that means you can improve your gameplay a little, but I think it just means everyone's just having good gameplay, well-matched teams, well-matched opponents. It's a really fun time.
Absolutely. And especially in situations like this where we know we're starting out with such a large point advantage 20 minutes into the game. Really don't want to give it away. Really want to dig deep and figure out what you're going to do to get back the points that you want.
Speaking of, my whole response here was basically to bring up some Rovate 90 to make his VDV engage them and Zeldas in the woods instead of allowing them to get through to my heavy tanks. And then we did kill a fair amount of stuff on this side, and I'm just trying to see what I can do with that, right? So Merkava 2A, of course, shooting in, does have... It almost looked like we did 4 points of damage with the 3 HE. Maybe that's because we hit both individual...
Yeah.
I think, yeah, okay. HE shots from even tanks do have a little bit of splash damage, and I think we hit both groups. But this got a little bit scary. I had no anti-helicopter defense. My 3D Baz is damaged, only 10 rounds left in its main gun, and I think we had actually taken a duel against a Pave and won, which is pretty nice, but still no answer to the VDV, and I mean, on this side, you were trying to recover here 10 RCs, Martyr 2s, some infantry coming out now in mechanized, and I mean, just again, both games you've had beautiful air cover with ASFs. It's not something I'm really phenomenal with. I tend to get a little bit too greedy, and the kills that you were doing to protect that side of the board really helped me out, man. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, I was happy to provide the air cover since my AA micro is normally lacking, so lean into your strengths when you need to.
T-72. Oh wait, no, here's the Pave. So Peace Ryan gets shot once, gets out. Very nice. And seeing that Pave, this is a high value target, in part because it has such fragile armor for 120 points. But my opponent here, M127, does pull back a little bit, and I think we were only able to engage. So yeah, so he's coming up. I think he's trying to just get a kill. So the Paves are really good for their 23 armor piercing for 120 points, 70 accuracy as well.
Almost the definition of a glass cannon.
Yeah, but he takes his shot in against my Rova 890, and that, I mean, that armor can't stand 2 shots from a Baz. So definitely a good engagement, 120 points there for us, and it means that my heavy tanks are still here to hold. Now I am bringing up a Draken, some more Rova as well, and the 3B will crunch through infantry as long as it's well supported, which right now it's not. So I'm actually going to
stop. It also has no ammo.
Wait, the 3B?
Oh, your 3B, sorry.
Yeah, the 3D Baz was out of ammo. Jeez. This thing lived a good life, honestly. I only wish I hadn't lost the other one. If I had the Lahat as well, we could have gone in for the Ito. Now, Kurnos coming in. I just want to see those bombs land in neutral. Not great, honestly. I thought it was better at the time. Blind bombing Kurnos is always a little risky. So, what's your strategy here to try and recontest Charlie? Because if we're going to win this on points, we really need to get a foothold here or a foothold in Foxtrot, and I mean preferably both, but this side is really looking a bit grim. So what was the goal for Charlie while I fought over on the left?
Yeah, in game at this point you had said basically whether or not we win this game comes down to me, and so that was definitely sent a chill down my spine when I had to step up a little bit there. But basically, since you still had some Rovites that were holding that section of forest, I figured that part was at least clear, so we'll expand the beachhead there, drop the CV in behind the Rovite 90, and then just try and hold that corner as long as we can.
Have you already purchased one, or is that sort of coming out? Oh, there it is in the Panther. Yeah, fair enough. And hey, mechanized. So, I mean, this is the thing too. You don't necessarily need to hold a large section of Charlie. Obviously, it helps if you do. But if you can just scooch up here, honestly, if you can scooch in through each of these lanes, that gives your opponent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 potential spots for your command vehicle. And it's each large clump of woods, and that's a really big guessing game. I think people underestimate sometimes. Speaking of CVs, though, we did see a UAZ. It's going to draw an attack marker from me, and it's going to park right there, and we see it. He does countercap Bravo for just a second, but I think you had...
I had a cluster bomber just waiting for the right mission to be suicided in.
I mean, yeah, that's the right mission right there. So 145 points is a little bit rich for just a vehicle CV, but the tactical impact may actually make up for that 45-point loss if you can get the kill, and you did. There it is. Dead command vehicle. Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. And that relieves some of the pressure, because with the 2-point cap for red, they were taking +1. If they'd been able to hold there, that would have been a +2, and definitely would have made us sweat all the harder. Now on this side, I'm trying to clear a bridgehead into Fox. I have Zeldas leading the way, because we had been drawing some ATGM fire. And, I mean, it's nice to have these guys. They will help you win infantry fights. But I'd rather lose them than the 3B. And that's what all of that was about. It also was telling me where to fire with the Kurnos, and that is going to hopefully get some kills this time around. Dead spike team, dead resupply, couldn't ask for better off of that on a very short mission as well. And this bridgehead is phenomenal. So 10 RCs, AMX 13, nothing really that can kill the Wilk, but you don't need to kill it, you just need to hold here just for long enough. And if we can tick +1, if we can tick even +2, clearing out Foxtrot maybe, that's still the game. And every second that we're getting that, it's putting it just a little bit harder for our opponents to catch up. If they keep a +1, for right now, they would have just barely win and maybe even draw with 18-19 minutes left.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you saw this in game. That panicked me, because those are my Rios.
I'm sure you'll get them back.
We'll see.
But especially going back into Charlie, right? Holding those entrances where the AMX 10s are, it's the kind of thing where, you know, you had said sometimes that can get pushed by infantry, but having the recon in there made me assured that, you know, I could send in my reinforcements through there without getting side shot or hit by, you know, something equivalent in those entrances.
Yeah.
So just having those entry points secured meant that I knew I could reinforce the beachhead without having to worry about my path in.
Yeah, fair enough. I'd say I stand corrected, but I sit corrected at the moment. Those those were just invaluable lanes here. Now, for getting back my Rios and the Urals, the Rova 890 are engaging with VDV 90, and this is the thing about cheap line infantry. This is the reason I like them so much. Double stack of VDV 90 is 50 points. These Rova 8, all 4 of them combined, of 40 points total, and will win this fight disproportionate to that, even though the VDV 90 are individually higher performance. Now, Zelda also sort of engaging with VDV 90. You can see they have a really long range, but so long as they're using that against 5-pointers and allowing me to get the kill with the Baz, I don't mind.
Absolutely.
Only thing that could
it's just one of those things where it makes you sad to see the VDV 90 like in direct line fights. Ideally, you want to see them behind another line infantry or supported by vehicles, so they can really put their Vampire to full use.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the best USSR player, but I've been pushed enough times by VDV, a couple of Motostrelki, and a BMPT to know that that's nothing I want a part of without having really heavy armor. Now, I was being really cautious here. You can see the 25T is circling and just taking out some Zeldas, but I had to make sure that these guys were not spotted for a while, and I was running out of smoke, so I think that's actually your smoke, potentially?
Yeah, you would call for it. Unfortunately, I couldn't put it in the right spot to really cover your Merkava, but just trying to give you some
worked out well enough, and this is just, as I said earlier, I'm bad at ASFs. That was pure greed, so I was getting pissed at the 25T. So, not good decisions. Not good at all. So, Oxidate Pakud is coming up here. I was trying to clear the CV in Foxtrot, but I wasn't able to find it. And the counter cap there does pop us back up to +2, since you have this counter cap. Just amazing spot for us. Because we only have 100 points or so, 90 points really that we need. That's 3 minutes ticking at +2, and we win the game. So, I mean, if we can even get halfway there, then hold on to a +1, we're very, very close in this game. 414 points, and, I mean, at this point, you have to think that, I mean, Viet Cong is a wonderful opponent. We've played against each other a couple of times, and I think this is the first time that it hasn't been just sort of blatantly one-sided in his favor, so it was very nice to have that sort of success here, at least so far, but I couldn't help thinking that it's just an inch from fading away, and even with the successful counter-push into Fox, not being able to find the CV is very much not a good sign, because it means that there's more of this that not only do I not yet control, but I can't even see, and then this side was under constant threat, so the Panzergren 90 here would be able to fend off a Wilk, but being stripped of the cheaper infantry on that side means that if they do a combined arms push, these guys will eventually die. Well, these are still mine. Huh.
Yeah, we're providing good security for the CV.
I only wish
Yeah, you're
I'd
definitely
moved
right.
these
It
up as
definitely felt
well.
like we were holding on by an inch, like a fingernail, whatever analogy you want to throw at this. Especially since like the force fighting mid game to late game, it didn't necessarily feel like we were, coming out ahead.
Yeah.
But we just had this nice advantage where we had a good bank of points and were able to kind of, stick to our plan
No,
and get
this
that
was scary
initiative
too.
rolling from the early game.
So the
Yeah, that was a nice
25T,
spot.
yeah, takes out the X-Ray Bakud. I didn't have any, I mean, I had some AA previously, I think it actually died. And I was bringing up more, so a mock bet coming up. But we lose Foxtrot, we're back to a +1. We hadn't really been able to keep that +2 for as long as we needed. And that makes, as I said earlier in the game, I mean, whether or not we won or lost here was entirely based on how well you did in Charlie. And you can see that as I get just pushed out here again. And I don't know, it's a very frustrating map to do this for. In hindsight, I should have probably pushed out at this part in Charlie, but I don't know. Let's take a look at the neutral for just a second. Yeah, that would have ended poorly. Spetsnaz grew, spike teams, anything I sent over there, we'd take like 3-1 losses just trying to secure that reinforcement line. Be very expensive,
Yeah,
very costly.
it's
But
pretty frustrating right now to see that Su-25 just keep on flying over our airspace, completely uncontested. It's
it's meant to
speaks a
loiter.
lot about our A net that we had up for the past few minutes.
Well, both of my Shanavs were taken out by Seed,
Yep.
and we do actually get the kill finally there with the mock bet. These things, I mean, they're not the longest range, but if anything flies over, I mean, the 25T is armored, and the mock bet did
That's
not
right.
care. Just did not care. These things, if a plane flies over them, the plane's dying, so...
Glad you were able to take it down.
Yeah, me too, me too. So you were actually, I think, dodging a bombing run here, or what was that?
Yeah, there was a Wilk that was pushing us, so I had you sacrifice your right to provide some security.
Of course, of course. Happy to provide endless line infantry from one of the geographically smallest nations in the entire world. I'm sure they have the population for it. You can also see that Viet Cong is throwing Sapri forward just because at this point, why not, right? Like, they're an inch from losing the game. The only way to not do that at this point is a complete breakthrough. And so he's pushing on all fronts just to try and get that breakthrough, and I don't have anything that can kill Sapri here, so my Shiatat have long been gone. The ones in the town over here are too far away to help, and I didn't have the micro to help with that either. I didn't realize they were there. We have a lot of this town, but, I mean, they're just squeezing so hard on the Fox and Bravo side, and then again on Charlie, that I was frankly amazed that these command infantry were able to hold here. I mean, just, yeah, it's just obstacles.
Yeah, we were
right there.
dodging tanks, we were dodging Hawks. We just needed to hold on for a minute.
Did you dodge any wrenches? Because I've heard reliably if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a bomb.
Well, I didn't see any wrenches thrown in this game, but I'm sure someone's equipped with them. Maybe a reservist.
Possibly reservists. So FFB did very well on this side. We're just able to hold. I lost the 3B, but the 3D Baz is still alive and well and completely unsupported. Cannot recommend. But that is going to be the end of the game here as we get tick up to 500 points. So well played to our opponents Viet Cong and M1127RV, as well as many thanks to Honda Hun for winning that game for us on the far corner. And I think we had some pretty good KD, so 4,994 to 4,385. The early fight definitely makes up for that. And some of my lead here is just because I got the last tap on a couple of units that things like your Leclerc definitely did weaken. So standout units are going to be the Shiatat 13 opening up against Skrejets, BTRTs, and Rozvedka. The 3D Baz, one of them did die, but the other one, I mean, that's the Pave. That's a lot of stuff paying for himself very well. And I was really impressed with the I Shermans. So, I mean, it's a 15-point tank, it's a 25-point infantry unit, and they got consistent chip on things like that the whole game. So, thank you, Han, for being with us here for today's video.
Thanks for having me. Great game.
I will see you guys again real soon.